One day at work, quite without warning, I fell unconscious. Everybody recognized that I was dead. My boss was fond of me and bought the best quality coffin for me, one made in the classical style. He took me to the temple and sponsored a high funeral ceremony for me. I didn't know that I had died, even though I was no longer in my body. I felt sleepy and lay down. I felt that I was dreaming, even though I was dead. In this dream, two Yamatods took me to the strange place. I saw many people who looked like prisoners. I knew some of them, I greeted them, I asked them why they were in this place. One of them said, "Here he comes," and then disappeared. The Yamatods guided me to a torture chamber, one for those who had committed murder. I saw guards hitting the prisoners on the head with an iron hammer. People were being chopped into pieces. They reassembled themselves and were then chopped again and again until the karma they carried from having killed people was exhausted. After this process was finished, their pieces were fed to dogs and vultures with iron beaks. The Yamatods explained that these prisoners were not afraid of making bad karmas, that they actually liked killing people. This torture, he said, was the result of their murderous karmas. After these karmas were extinguished, they would be reborn as animals in the earthly plane of existence. In that life, they would have to die by being killed. They would not be allowed to live with their natural lifespan. The Yamatods then took me to another torture chamber. I saw a path made of hot coals. The guards were forcing people to walk this path. If someone could not bear the pain and stopped walking, the guards would stab them with spears and thus force them to continue. This process was repeated until the person was burned up completely. First their feet, then their calves, then their knees, and so forth. Their bodies then returned to their previous state, and the whole process was repeated. The Yamatod explained that the path of hot coals were for those who had too many defilement and desires tanha. We came to another torture area. These prisoners were punished by having their tongues put between red-hot pincers. I thought, this is so horrible. They could not bear their punishment, and some tried to escape. They would run to get a drink of water. As they tried to scoop it into their mouths, it was turned into scalding hot oil. In pain, they rolled around on the ground, but even as they did so, nails grew under them. The Yamatod explained that they were being punished like this because during their lives they were liars and slanderers. I then saw a group of naive trees with trunks covered with spikes. There were many of them. They had large trunks. At the bases of these trees, there were naked people trying to climb up. Anyone who would not climb was stabbed by the spears the Yamatod held. I then came to the hell for those who drank, took heroin or opium. There were more people in this hell than any other I had witnessed so far. Some were being boiled in a copper pot, others had been set on fire, while still others were being forced to drink acid. They tried to escape to find water, but when they did so, it turned into a boiling oil. Some were able to escape, but those who succeed found themselves harassed by vultures with iron beaks. The Yamatod said that this was the last place we would visit in the hell. I then saw two men I knew well back on earth. I had seen them in the market. They made gestures of respect to the Yamatods and asked if they could be allowed to eat. They said that they had been here for a few days and were so hungry. They said that had fainted several times from hunger, but they couldn't die. We have just been walking around aimlessly. The Yamatut said, "Are you really so hungry?" They answered, "Of course, please help us." The Yamatut pointed to this left and said, "Go that way. There is a lot of food there, just ready for you to eat." They saw the food and ran toward it. When they got there, the food turned to stone, sand and dust. The Yamatut said to me, "Don't worry about them, let's go." I was afraid the whole time I was in hell. I asked the Yamatuts, "What should I do to avoid these tortures?" He answered, "Usually those who are more pure than animals, who try to avoid sins and try to do good things, are not reborn here." I was hungry. I asked the Yamatut for food and water. He said that it was no problem and took me to the pavilion. He ordered someone to bring me food. When it arrived, I tried to eat it, but it disappeared in my hand. I said, "Don't kid me. I am really hungry." And I tried to eat some more. The same thing happened again. I gave up and tried to drink some water. The water disappeared as well. The Yamatut laughed and said that there was no food for you. It's not yours. If you never create merit by donating food to the monks, you will have no food in the hell. When you revive, you absolutely must create merit for yourself in this way. The Yamatut then took me to heaven. I was afraid in hell because I had never created merit. Now it was time to see heaven. "Is it possible?" I asked. The Yamatut asked me if I really wanted to see heaven. "If so, then you must contemplate the three treasures of the Lord Buddha, his teaching and community of monks who follow his teaching. Concentrate your mind, pray, and you will go to heaven." After I closed my eyes and put my hands in the prayerful gestures, the Yamatut disappeared and I was no longer in the hell. I found myself in another place which was very pleasant. The weather was nice. I was no longer hungry. I saw a garden with trees all in rows. It was a beautiful, like the garden of a king or a millionaire. As I walked into the garden, I smelled some flowers. They were so very fragrant, with a scent I had never known before. Next, I saw some angels, both male and female. They glided through the air. They were dressed beautifully and wore exquisite jewelry. Some had flower in their hair. I kept walking and saw a pavilion with a roof like that of a palace. There were angelic men sitting inside. His body was surrounded by a green halo. I approached the angel and sat down and made obeisances. I asked, "Who are you? Where am I?" He answered, "I am the Lord of angels, and this is the angelic world." I then recognized that this was none other than Indra, the king of heaven. He said to me, "When you go back to your world, you should teach your fellow men not to commit sins, as it causes them to go to hell. If they do good and behave in a normal manner, they will be reborn in my heaven. I will show you the mercy of teaching you the dharma, the sacred law." He imparted this knowledge by opening my wisdom eye. I then saw all the truth of the universe, the future, the past, and the present. After 6 earthly days, Indra told me that he would take me to another level of heaven. The word of Brahma, I saw Brahma, the creator of the universe. His face was similar to Indra, with a fresh, clean look about it that indicated mercy, compassion, loving kindness, and equanimity. He had a golden halo. Burma explained that the angel in this level in his level of heaven were all on their way to take new birth in the ordinary world. Therefore, there were many houses that were empty. He was waiting for those who had created much merit during their lives to take rebirth there. But they were very few. Those who were there had almost been monks who had been strict in their observance of the monastic rule. You have been separated from your body for 7 days, he said. If you don't return soon, you will not be able to. Brahma then ordered Indra to take me back to the world of living. When I returned to my home, I couldn't find my body. I flew up and saw some people carrying a coffin. The angel who had been ordered to take me back hit the lid of my coffin so that I fell down. My spirit then returned to my body and I then revived.